Good evening, and welcome back to Dreamward Stories. Before we begin, make yourself comfortable. Let your body settle into the bed, the chair, or wherever you are resting tonight. Let your shoulders soften, your breathing slow, and allow the day to gently fall away from you, one quiet thought at a time. Here at Dreamward Stories, we tell calm, immersive bedtime stories for adults. Stories made to help you relax, drift, and feel far from the noise of ordinary life. And as you settle in, I would love to know where you are listening from tonight. You can leave a little comment with your city, country, or simply the place where this story has found you. If this story helps you rest, a like is always appreciated. And if you would like more quiet stories to fall asleep to, you are warmly welcome to subscribe. Now, let the room grow still. Let the world soften, and let tonight's story lead you gently dreamward. Tonight, you sail aboard the Lanternwake, a gentle pirate ship guided by stars, lanterns, and old songs. But before dawn, the map beside your bunk changes while you sleep. A pale island appears where there was only open sea. Beside it are 5 quiet words, only found by sleeping crews. Now the compass points not north, but toward Lullaby, and somewhere beyond the dark water, an island waits with silver shores, 3 star-crowned hills, and a secret the sea has been keeping for many years. So settle in, let the lanterns glow low, drift with the tide toward a place that can only be found in dreams. The first thing you notice is that the map has changed while you were asleep. It lies open on the little desk beside your bunk, held flat beneath a brass weight shaped like a sleeping turtle. When you closed your eyes last night, the parchment showed the familiar waters east of Maribel, with their dotted reefs, patient currents, and the small black marks you had made to warn the crew of shallow sandbars. Now, in the silver-blue hour, before dawn, a new island rests in the middle of the map, where there had only been empty sea. It is drawn in pale ink, almost the color of moonlight on milk. A crescent shore curves around a dark green center. 3 small hills rise from the middle, each marked with a tiny star. Around the island, water is not painted in the usual lines of current and tide. Instead, the waves have been drawn like soft ribbons, all leaning toward the island, as if the sea itself is listening. Beside the island, in handwriting that is not yours, are 5 quiet words, only found by sleeping crews. You sit for a while without moving. The ship breathes around you in its familiar wooden way. Somewhere above, a rope knocks gently against a mast. The boards beneath your feet answer with a low creak as the warm sea lifts and lowers the hull. You can hear the faint murmur of water sliding along the sides of the ship, soft and steady, as though the world has not noticed anything unusual at all. But the map has noticed. You are the mapkeeper aboard the pirate ship Lanternwake. Though no one who knows the ship would call her fierce, she is old, broad-bellied, and warm with lanterns, with a blue sail stitched in silver stars, and a prow carved in the shape of a smiling moon. Her crew are pirates, mostly by tradition now, keepers of hidden coves, collectors of lost bells, finders of misplaced things, and borrowers of treasure that has asked to be moved. The captain says there are many kinds of pirates. Some take because they are hungry for more. Some take because the world has forgotten where a thing belongs. The crew of the Lanternwake prefers the second kind. Your work is quiet but important. You read the maps, mend the maps, and make new ones when the sea teaches you something. You keep the ship's lantern charts in order. You record the stars each night, marking which ones lean brightest over which waters. You trim the small lamps on the map table so the ink never dries too quickly, and you make sure every journey has a way home drawn somewhere upon it. It is careful work, gentle work, the kind of work that belongs to someone who pays attention. You lean closer to the dream map. The new island is not fixed like the others. Its edges seem to soften whenever you blink, as though the parchment is remembering it with difficulty. A tiny inlet appears, then fades. A grove of trees gathers itself in lines of green, then loosens into mist. The 5 words remain clear, only found by sleeping crews. A sleepy voice comes from the bunk across the narrow room. Mapkeeper? Finn, the youngest ackhand on the Lanternwake, lifts his head from a tangle of blanket, hair pointing in every direction. He is always half asleep before sunrise, and often half asleep after it too. Yet he has a good hand with knots, a kind way with gulls, and an uncanny talent for waking just before something strange happens. "You're sitting like the kettle spoke," he says. "The map has changed." You answer softly. That wakes him a little more. He swings his feet to the floor, rubs both eyes, and peers across the room. The pearl lantern hanging from the ceiling gives only a faint glow, enough to brighten the edges of the desk and the brass corners of the map chest. Finn pads over in bare feet. For several breaths, neither of you speaks. Outside the small round window, the sea lies warm and dark beneath a fading moon. The ship is still sailing east by the last order given before midnight, but the waters around her seem smoother than they should be. Even the usual dawn wind has not arrived yet. Finn bends until his nose is nearly over the parchment. That island was not there. No, maybe you drew it while dreaming. I do not sleep with ink in my hand. He nods, accepting this as sensible. Then he points to the 5 words. Does that mean we are asleep now? You look at the letters, at the island, at the faint shine around the little painted shore. No, you say after a moment. I think it means the island was. From above, a bell rings once. Not the loud bronze bell used for fog, nor the smaller warning bell beside the wheel. This is a softer bell, one hung near the captain's cabin, and rung only when the old captain wants the crew gathered without hurry. Finn exhales. Captain Maribel's awake. She may already know. The Lanternwake seems to shift under you, her boards letting out a long, low sigh. It is not quite the sound of a ship turning. It is more like the sound of an old house settling around a secret. You gather the map carefully, rolling it from both ends so the new island does not crease. You tie it with blue cord, tuck it beneath your arm, and lift the pearl lantern from its hook. The lantern is warm in your hand. It has always been warm, even on cold nights. Its frame is made of polished wood darkened by years of salt air, and inside it rests a pearl larger than a plum, glowing from within, as though it remembers moonlight. It was found long ago, before you joined the ship, tucked inside a sealed wooden box drifting, beyond the dreaming shoals. The crew has used it ever since to light the map room, the lantern deck, and the captain's table, whenever the night asks for a gentler flame. You carry it now through the narrow passage outside the bunk room, Finn following behind you, still pulling his shirt straight. The ship is quiet, in the way it becomes just before morning work begins. Hammocks hang low in the room below deck, each one holding a sleeping shape beneath patched quilts. Boots line the wall. A row of tin cups sways faintly from hooks. Someone has left a folded scarf on a barrel of apples. The air smells of wood, old rope, and the last sweetness of last night's cinnamon tea. You climb the short stairway and step out onto the deck. The moonlit sea waits all around you. The Lanternwake glides through water as smooth as dark glass. Lanterns hang from the railings, from the mast, from the little arch above the galley door. Each one turned low now, that dawn is near. The blue sail stitched with stars hangs loose and still. Yet the ship continues forward as if drawn by a tide deeper than wind. At the stern, Captain Maribel stands beside the wheel. She is wrapped in her sea-blue coat, silver hair braided over one shoulder, one hand resting on the polished spokes. Her face is lined by years of sunlight and salt, but her eyes are bright with the quiet attention of someone who has learned to listen before speaking. On her shoulder sits Orzo, the ship's green parrot, his head tucked beneath one wing. Captain Maribel does not look surprised when you approach. "Good," she says. "You brought the map." You place it on the small table bolted beside the wheel. It changed in the night. So did the compass. The captain reaches into her coat and draws out the ship's old brass compass. You know it well. It is heavy, dented near one hinge, and faithful in all ordinary matters. It has pointed through mist, through moonless water, through days when clouds erase the sky entirely. Now, when Captain Maribel opens it, the needle does not point north. It trembles. Then, instead of settling toward any direction, it turns slowly toward the sound of the cook humming in the galley below. A tune rises through the boards, soft and drowsy. The needle leans toward it. Finn whispers, "That is not north." "No," Captain Maribel says. "It is pointing toward Lullaby." Orzo lifts his head and opens one eye. "North is noisy," the parrot says. "Dreams prefer songs." Then he tucks his head beneath his wing again, as if that explains everything. The captain looks to you. "Mapkeeper," she says gently, "show me what the sea drew for us while we slept." You untie the blue cord and open the map beneath the paling stars. When the new island appears, Captain Maribel rests one finger near it, careful not to touch the ink. For the first time, you see something pass over her face that is not surprise exactly, but recognition. "Ah," she says, "so it has finally called us." The water around the Lanternwake glows faintly, just once, as if a star has opened its eye beneath the sea. The galley smells of warm bread, for the sun has reached the edge of the world. You sit at the long narrow table with the dream map spread carefully between mugs of tea, its corners held down by a spoon, a smooth shell, Finn's folded cap, and a little jar of honey. Captain Maribel has called no alarm. She has shouted no orders. Aboard the Lanternwake, mysteries are given breakfast if they arrive early enough. The cook, Bram, moves slowly between the stove and the counter, humming the tune that drew the compass needle. He is a broad-shouldered man with kind hands, a white beard tied with blue thread, and a habit of singing to dough, as if bread rises better when properly encouraged. He wears a faded red sash, patched in several places, and always smells faintly of nutmeg. "We were certain it was my tune?" Bram asks, sliding a plate of small oatcakes onto the table. Captain Maribel sets the brass compass beside the map and opens the lid. The needle turns at once toward Bram. He stops humming. The needle quivers, uncertain. He hums one soft note. The needle settles toward him again. Bram's eyebrows lift. "Well, then." Finn takes an oatcake, remembers to be respectful of the moment, and puts it back untouched. The captain folds her hands. "What were you singing?" "An old thing," Bram says. "She sang it when storms were too tired to keep arguing. I never knew all the words. Sing what you know." Bram glances around the galley, suddenly shy in the way singers sometimes become when asked to turn a habit into a performance. Then he wipes flour from his palms and lets the tune return. It is simple, almost too simple to be a psalm. 3 notes rising, 2 notes falling, then a longer note that seems to rest at the bottom of the ear. It feels less like something composed and more like something remembered by water. The compass needle turns in a slow circle, following each note, as if the sound itself is walking around the room. On the map, the island brightens. Not much, only enough for the little crescent shore to shine like the inside of a shell. Orzo, perched on the back of a chair, leans forward. "Sing to the shore," he croaks. "Not to the door." Finn looks at him. "What does that mean?" "It means," Orzo says, ruffling his feathers, "that doors are for people in a hurry." Bram chuckles quietly and pours tea into 5 cups. You look down at the map. The ink around the island has begun to shift again. A narrow line now reaches from the Lanternwake's current position toward the new shore. It does not look like a route drawn by a cartographer. It looks like a trail of small lights, each one shaped like a star reflected in water. Captain Maribel sees it too. "The tide of stars," she says. "You have heard the phrase before, but only in old logbooks. A current that appears on certain nights when the sea is quiet and the moon has not yet given up the sky. Sailors once claimed that stars fell into the ocean and drifted there until dawn, making paths for those who knew how to follow them. Most captains considered it a superstition. Captain Maribel has never been most captains. It fades at dawn, you say. Yes." She takes a slow sip of tea. "And if this map has called us now, the island will not wait for another night." Bram stops humming. "Island?" You turn the map so he can see. He studies the pale crescent shore, the 3 hills marked with stars, and the strange words beside it. His expression grows soft and unreadable. "My grandmother sang of a place like that," he says. "She called it Lullaby Isle." "Did she say how to find it?" Finn asks. Bram shakes his head. "Only that it was never found by looking straight at it." Captain Maribel smiles slightly. "Useful sort of impossible." Outside, footsteps cross the deck above. Someone lifts a hatch. A gull calls once, and then seems to think better of disturbing the morning. The Lanternwake continues east. But the compass has begun to turn, leaning now not toward Bram himself, but toward the tune still lingering in the air. You take up your charcoal pencil and note the change beside the map's edge. Compass responsive to lullaby. Island route brightens with song. Startide visible before dawn. You have always liked the certainty of writing things down. Ink cannot make the sea obey, but it can keep wonder from slipping through the fingers too quickly. Captain Maribel watches you write. "When I was young," she says. The Lanternwake was not so gentle as she is now. The galley settles into deeper quiet. Even Finn leaves the oat cake alone. "My first captain thought treasure meant a thing was yours if your hand closed around it first. Gold, jewels, bells, lanterns, carved figureheads from wrecks. Anything beautiful that could be carried, he believed, ought to be carried away." She looks toward the pearl lantern where it rests on the table beside you, glowing softly. "The sea taught me otherwise. But not all at once." You rest your hand lightly on the lantern's wooden handle. Captain Maribel's gaze stays on it. "The pearl was taken from waters near a shore no one could find afterward. I was young then. I told myself we had rescued it. Perhaps we had, perhaps we had not. But I have wondered for many years whether some treasures are not meant to be kept, only guarded, until they can be returned." The emotional weight of her words settles gently, not heavily. The galley remains warm. The tea still steams. Above you, the quiet ship moves with patient grace. Bram begins humming again, softer this time. The map responds. The trail of star-shaped marks lengthens, reaching beyond the edge of known water. Captain Maribel closes the compass. We follow the song. Finn finally takes his oat cake, as though the story has granted permission. "What do we do?" he asks. The captain turns to you. "The mapkeeper guides us. Bram keeps the tune alive when the compass wanders. Finn wakes the deckhands quietly. Orzo gives riddles only when helpful. Riddles are always helpful, says Orzo. No, says the captain. The parrot considers this, then nods once. Riddles are sometimes furniture. You roll the map and tuck it carefully beneath your arm. The pearl lantern's glow strengthens as you lift it, warming your palm. Captain Maribel opens the galley door, and cool moonlit air pours in. The sky beyond the deck has begun to pale at the lowest rim, though the stars above remain bright. Not much time, then, yet no one hurries in a way that breaks the morning. The Lanternwake is a ship that knows the difference between urgency and haste. You step out onto the deck, with the captain beside you, Bram humming following like a thread, Finn moving softly below to wake the crew, and Orzo fluttering up to the rail. Ahead, the seas dark and silver. Then, one by one, faint points of light peer upon the water. Not reflections. The stars are in the sea itself, floating just beneath the surface, gathering into a path. The compass lid clicks open in Captain Maribel's hand. The needle points forward, not north, not east, toward the Lullaby. The lantern deck wakes before the rest of the sky. It lies along the middle of the Lanternwake, slightly raised from the main planks, with 2 rows of hanging lamps swaying from curved iron hooks. Every ship has lanterns, but few keep them as carefully as yours. Some burn bright for fog, some are shaded blue for calm seas, amber for harbor, green for hidden coves, and white for nights when the stars vanish. Each lantern has a name carved beneath it, given by whoever first lit it aboard the ship. There is kindly, there is slow morning, there is last port, there is soup before rain, named by Bram after a storm that turned back unexpectedly at the smell of supper. You move among them now with your striker, trimming wicks, checking glass, and turning each flame low enough not to compete with the star-tide. Finn follows with a small basket of clean cloths, rubbing salt haze from the lantern panes. He has woken properly now, though his eyes still hold a little of sleep's softness. Around you, the crew works in quiet rhythm. No one sings loudly. No one shouts across the deck. Ropes are loosened and drawn with practiced hands. The blue sail stitched with stars is lifted higher, its silver thread catching the last moonlight. Though no wind presses it full, it stirs as if remembering a breeze from another place. Bram stands near the galley door, one hand on the rail, humming his grandmother's lullaby. Each time the tune rises, the star path ahead grows clearer. It is unlike any route you have seen. Ordinary currents tug, shove, curl, and argue. This one appears as a calm brightness beneath the sea, chain of sleeping stars, leading between dark swells. The Lanternwake follows without strain. Her hull makes almost no sound, as though the water has softened itself for her passing. You unroll the dream map on the lantern deck central table. The route updates slowly while you watch. The mark that represents the ship moves across the parchment, no larger than your thumbnail. Around it, little flecks of pale ink gather and vanish. The island remains near the top of the map, but its shore is clearer now, and there is a small mark on the crescent beach you did not notice before. A lantern. You glance at the pearl lantern hanging beside you from a hook. Its glow is answering the map. Captain Maribel comes to stand at the table, one hand resting on the rail. She has put on her old captain's hat, a soft black one with a silver pin shaped like a wave. Orzo sits on top of it like a green feathered thought. "Do you see something new?" she asks. "There is a lantern marked on the island shore," you say. The captain looks. The lines around her eyes deepen. "Then that is where it belongs." She says the words simply, but they change the air around the table, For all the years you have known the Pearl Lantern, it has felt like part of the ship. Its light has helped you mend charts during fog, find spilled pins beneath the desk, and read old coastlines when the moon had gone behind clouds. It has hung above meals, above quiet card games, above the captain's stories. Returning it does not feel like losing a possession. It feels like discovering a name that was always written on the underside of it. Finn seems to think the same. Will the map room be dark without it? He asks. For a little while, Captain Maribel says. Then we will learn what other light has been waiting its turn. Orzo clicks his beak. A borrowed moon must go home before breakfast. That one was useful, Finn admits. The parrot looks pleased and puffs himself larger. Make another note in your small logbook. Matt marks lantern on shore. Pearl lantern likely key to arrival or return. Crew come. Starlight steady. You close the book. A drop of light lands on its cover. You look up. The stars above the ship have begun to loosen. Not fall, exactly. They do not streak like meteors or flare like sparks. They simply drift lower in the sky, becoming brighter as they near the horizon, until their reflections meet the lights beneath the sea. For a moment it is impossible to tell whether the path is above you, below you, or all around. The Lanternwake sails through a corridor of quiet stars. No one speaks. Even Orzo bows his head. The sea smells sweeter here, like rain on warm stone, though no rain has fallen. Small waves lift against the hull and slide back without foam. Far off to port, a dark island passes, one you know from ordinary charts, Thorncap, with its crooked palms and sleeping goats. Yet on the dream map, Thorncap is not marked at all. The star-tod does not seem interested in waking places. Captain Maribel taps a point ahead. We will need the crow's nest soon. You know why. The map can guide the route, but dream shores are not always drawn to scale. A mapkeeper reads parchment. A lookout reads the meeting of water and light. I will go, Finn says, a little too quickly. Captain Maribel smiles. You may go with the mapkeeper. Finn straightens, proud and nervous. You tie the dream map in oilcloth, fasten it across your back, and lift the pearl lantern from the hook. The lantern's handle fits your hand with familiar warmth. Together, you and Finn climb the rope ladder toward the crow's nest. The ascent is slow, not difficult. The mast rises firm beneath your hands, smelling of tar, salt, and old sunlight. Below, the deck becomes a warm pattern of lanterns and moving shoulders. Bram's lullaby drifts upward in threads, sometimes caught by the sail, sometimes released again. The star-stitched blue canvas billows once, and for a breath it seems you are climbing the side of the night itself. Finn reaches the crow's nest first and helps steady the lantern as you step in. The little round platform rocks gently. From here, the Lanternwake seems both large and small, large in her care, small beneath the deep bowl of sky. The sea stretches in every direction, but the star-tide gathers ahead into a pale road. You unroll the map against the inside curve of the crow's nest. The island is closer now. Its crescent shore has sharpened. The 3 hills stand beneath tiny stars, and from the center of the island a line has appeared, written in the same moon-pale ink as before. What was taken must be returned without sorrow. Finn reads it silently. His mouth moves around the words. Without sorrow, he says at last. You look down at the pearl lantern. Its light is steady, not frightened, not dimming. If anything, it glows with the calm patience of something that has heard its name call from far away. Below, Captain Maribel looks up. You raise one hand, then point forward. Ahead of the ship, star-tide bends slightly south, away from the last known reef, and toward a part of the sea no chart in your care has ever claimed. The captain turns the wheel. The Lanternwake follows. A soft wind arrives from nowhere, fills the blue sails stitched with stars, and carries the scent of an island no one awake has ever found. By the time the first gold of dawn touches the lowest edge of the sky, the known sea has fallen behind. There is no line where it happens, no gate, no wall of mist. The change comes more gently than that. One moment, the Lanternwake is sailing through waters that remember names from your oldest charts, and the next, the waves around her carry no familiar pattern at all. The swells move in long, slow breaths. The foam glows faintly, then fades. The air grows warmer, not with heat, but with the softness of a room where someone has left a lamp burning for your return. From the crow's nest, watch the startide narrow. Finn stands beside you, quieter than usual. His hands rest on the wooden rim. The pearl lantern hangs between you, its light now bright enough to be seen even beneath the paling sky. There, Finn whispers. At first you see only a low shape ahead, no more solid than morning mist. Then Bram's lullaby rises from the deck again, and the shape answers. An island appears. It gathers itself from light and water, not suddenly, but as if being remembered by every sleeping creature in the world. A crescent shore gleams pale against the dark sea. Behind it, trees lift their leaves in soft layers of green and silver. 3 small hills rise at the center, each crowned by a star that remains visible even though dawn is nearing. A thin line of mist rests above the sand, and within it something glows where the dream map marked the lantern. Finn's breath catches. Lullaby Isle. The name fits the place. You signal to the captain below, and the ship slows. Sails are softened, lines are drawn in. No anchor is dropped, for Captain Maribel says some shores must not be held tightly. Instead, the Lanternwake drifts toward the crescent beach, as if the water itself is guiding her to a polite distance. You climb down with the map and the pearl lantern. By the time your boots touch the deck, the whole crew is gathered in quiet wonder. Bram has stopped humming, but the tune remains in the boards of the ship. Orzo perches on the rail, feathers smooth, eyes round and bright. Captain Maribel stands at the bow, her hat in her hands. The island does not feel dangerous. It does not feel empty either. It feels asleep. The shore lies just ahead, wrapped in dawn-colored mist. Soft waves fold over the sand and withdraw without leaving shells, weeds, or foam. The trees beyond the beach lean together in a wind, too gentle to hear. Somewhere inland, bird calls 3 notes that match the first 3 notes of Bram's lullaby. Captain Maribel turns to the crew. "We do not step ashore as takers," she says. "We step ashore as guests." No one argues. A small boat is lowered. Enough room for you, a captain, Bram, Finn, and Orzo, who insists guests should not arrive without riddles in case the island has questions. The wooden treasure box is brought from the captain's cabin and placed carefully in the center of the boat. It is old cedar, dark with polish, bound in brass, and empty except for a square of blue cloth, on which the pearl lantern has rested during long voyages. Captain Maribel carries it herself. You carry the pearl lantern. Its light is no longer merely white. Deep within the pearl, colors move slowly: blue, silver, green, the pale rose of dawn. It feels warmer than before, but not heavier. The boat slips over the Startidy's final lights. As you row toward shore, the sea beneath you becomes so clear that it seems the boat is floating above a sky turned upside down. Stars rest below the surface like sleeping fish. Their glow is fading one by one, and with each fading point, the island grows a little more solid. Bram hums under his breath, and not to guide now, but to greet. The compass lies open on your knee. The needle no longer points ahead. It circles slowly, as if the lullaby is everywhere. When the boat reaches the shallows, you step out into warm water that rises just above your ankles. The sand beneath your boots is fine and pale. No footprint remains behind you for long. Each mark fills gently, not erased, but accepted. Captain Maribel steps beside you with the wooden treasure box. Bram follows. Then Finn, who carries a coil of rope he does not need, seems comforted by. Orzo flutters from the boat to a low branch near the shore. "Remember the rule," he says. Captain Maribel looks at him. "Which one?" The parrot tilts his head. "A gift is lighter when the hand opens." You look toward the glowing place on the beach. It is not a building, nor a shrine exactly. A shallow hollow rests in the sand, where the crescent shore bends inward. Around it stand small stones, smooth as eggs, and white as moonlit bone. Between them grows a circle of low silver grass, each blade tipped with dew. In the center is a wooden post, weathered and simple, with an iron hook curving from its top. An empty hook. The dream map rustles beneath your arm. You unfold it one last time. The island is fully drawn now, clearer than any chart you have ever made. The crescent shore, the 3 hills, the circle of stones, the empty hook. Beneath the image, the handwriting has changed again. The island appears only to crews who are ready to give back what they once took from the sea. No one speaks for a while. The midpoint truth, when it arrives, does not break over you like thunder. It settles like a blanket. The island was not hiding from sailors because it was cruel or proud. It was not a prize for clever captains or restless dreamers. It appeared only when a crew had become gentle enough to understand that finding a thing was not the same as owning it. Captain Maribel reads the words and closes her eyes. "I have carried that lesson longer than I carried the lantern," she says. Bram rests a hand on the wooden treasure box. Finn lowers his eyes to the sand. Orzo, for once, offers no riddle. You look down at the pearl lantern in your hands. The ship has loved its light. You have loved its light. Yet the shore ahead seems to be waiting, not with demand, but with welcome. Treasure is not always something you keep. Sometimes it is something you protect until it remembers the way home. Captain Maribel opens the wooden treasure box on the sand. Inside, the blue cloth lies folded around the shape the pearl lantern has left there 4 years. The hollow in the cloth is soft and round, a small memory of weight. For a moment, the captain runs her thumb along the edge of the box, and the lines in her face seem to hold many voyages at once. "I was not captain when we found it," she says quietly, "but I was there. The sea folds gently at your ankles." Bram stands with his hands clasped before him, his humming stilled. Finn looks toward the Lanternwake, where she waits offshore, her star-stitched sail now glowing faintly in the dawn. The crew along the rail are silent, watching without crowding the moment. Captain Maribel continues. "We had sailed too far south after a week of strange weather. Old Captain was restless. He wanted something to prove the journey had not been foolish. Near morning, we saw a light floating beyond the shoals. It was inside this lantern, sealed in the box, rocking on water that shone like glass." She looks to the empty hook among the stones. The box was not broken. The lantern was not lost in the way ordinary things are lost. There should have been a question in that. But we were young and hungry for marvels, and the old captain said the sea had offered us treasure. Orzo shifts on the branch. "The sea offers many things," he says. "Not all are invitations." Captain Maribel nods. "I learned that later." You hold the lantern a little higher. The pearl's light reaches the circle of stones. Dew brightens on the silver grass. A low sound passes through the island, so soft it might be the beginning of wind beneath leaves. Bram breathes in slowly. "My grandmother's lullaby," he says. She sang it when something restless needed putting back to sleep, not silencing. Resting, the compass in your pocket warms. You draw it out. Its needle no longer circles. It points to the empty hook. Finn looks from the compass to the lantern. So we hang it there. Yes, Captain Maribel says, but not as if we are discarding it. We return it properly. She places the wooden treasure box beneath the hook and steps back, leaving room for you. It is fitting, somehow, that the task comes to your hands. You have cared for the lanterness light in the map room. You have carried it through quiet watches, lifted it over uncertain charts, and trusted it to show the lines that ordinary flame missed. You know its warmth, its weight, the faint sea smell of its wooden frame. Now you walk toward the circle of stones. The sand inside is dry, though the tide has recently touched it. The silver grass bends away from your boots, then rises again. The island seems to hold a long breath. You lift the pearl lantern and set its handle onto the iron hook. For a moment, nothing happens. The lantern hangs there, familiar and strange, its glow resting over the crescent shore. Then the pearl brightens from within, not sharply, not in a blaze. It brightens the way a window brightens when someone inside draws back a curtain at morning. Light moves outward through the wood, along the iron hook, down the weathered post, and into the circle of stones. Each stone glows faintly in answer. Silver grass fills with two bright sparks. The sea withdraws by one gentle step. A path appears beneath the shallow water. It is not a path for walking far inland. It leads only from the circle of stones to the edge of the tide, where waves bow around it without crossing. Along the path, small shells emerge from the sand, each one pale and closed, each one humming the same three notes you heard from the island bird. Bram joins the hum, his voice low. The shells answer him. The empty treasure box at Captain Maribel's feet opens wider by itself, and from inside the blue cloth a single bead of light rises, then another, then a third. They drift up like small moons, circling the box, and settle into the air around the lantern. You realize they are not new lights. They are echoes of every night, the pearl lantern spent aboard the Lanternwake, its glow over the map table, its glow in the galley during storms, its glow beside a sleeping deckhand, its glow across Captain Maribel's face as she read old logs, its glow on your hands as you drew coastlines from memory. The island is not taking those nights away. It is receiving them. The thought is quiet and kind. Finn whispers, "It remembers us too." The pearl lantern shines once more, and the dream map slips from beneath your arm. You reach for it, but the parchment does not fall. It floats in front of you, unrolling in the warm air. The island on the map glows. The ship's route glows. Then new lines appear, drawn in silver ink from the crescent shore back across the sea. A way home. Captain Maribel steps closer. Her eyes are bright, but her voice is steady. "Mapkeeper?" You study the lines carefully. They curve away from the fading star tide and toward waters you know, but they do not match any direct route. The path seems to follow places where the sea is kindest at dawn. Smooth currents, quiet deeps, reefs that sleep below the keel. "It is giving us safe passage," you say. The captain bows her head toward the lantern. "Then thank you." Orzo flutters down onto the treasure box. "Returned things do not leave empty hands," he says. "They leave room." The pearl lantern's light settles into a steady glow. The island changes around it. Not much. The trees become a little greener. The mist along the shore thins. The three stars above the hills shine once, though the sky is now brightening. You can see, Beyond the first line of trees, a narrow path leading toward a grove where white flowers grow in clusters like resting moths. Finn notices it too. We go farther. Captain Maribel looks to you, then to the map. The new route home remains clear, but beside the island's center, a small mark has appeared. 3 dots in a triangle beneath one star. Bram begins humming again, and the mark warms. Perhaps the island has one more thing to show. The captain says, "Not treasure, not a prize. A farewell," Bram offers. The word seems right. You leave the pearl lantern glowing on its hook above the sleeping shore. A wooden treasure box remains open beneath it, now empty of the thing it once carried, yet somehow less empty than before. Together, you follow the white flowers inland. The path into the island is narrow, soft, and shaded by trees whose leaves shine silver underneath. You walk slowly, not from caution, but because the place seems to prefer unhurried footsteps. The sand gives way to pale soil, and to smooth stones set close together like a stream that has chosen to become a road. Small white flowers line the edges, their petals folded as if still asleep. Every so often, one opens as you pass, releasing a faint scent of salt, honey, and clean linen dried in sun. Behind you, the pearl lantern continues to glow on the shore. Its light does not vanish among the trees. It travels gently between trunks, resting on bark, leaves, and the backs of your hands. Captain Maribel walks beside you with no hat now, her silver braid moving softly against her coat. Bram follows with Finn, still humming under his breath, while Orzo hops from branch to branch overhead. The parrot has become unusually quiet, which gives his presence a certain importance. The path rises a little. Soon the trees open into a small clearing at the foot of the 3 hills. The hills are lower than they appeared from the sea, rounded and green, each crowned by a flat stone. Above each stone hovers one star, not high in the sky, but just out of reach, as though the island has kept a few pieces of night for itself. The stars do not burn. They glow with the soft steadiness of lanterns seen through rain. In the center of the clearing stands a table made from driftwood. It is long, low, and weathered smooth by time. Upon it are objects arranged with care. A cracked teacup, a silver button, a child's wooden whistle, a small brass bell without a clapper, a length of blue ribbon stiff with salt, and many other little things that look neither rich nor worthless. Each rests in its own shallow bowl of sand. Finn steps closer. "What are these?" "Things return," Bram says. He does not sound as if he knows it from being told. He sounds as if the place has made the answer obvious. You approach the table. Beside every object is a mark drawn into the sand. Not words, exactly. More like the beginning of a story. A ship shape beside the cracked teacup, a bird beside the silver button, 3 waves beside the clapperless bell. None of the marks explain everything. They simply honor that each object once belonged somewhere, then traveled, then came home. At the far end of the table is an empty bowl of sand. The pearl lantern's mark is already there. A small drawing of the Lanternwake has appeared beside it, complete with her blue sail stitched with stars. The lines are simple but unmistakable. You see the mast, the curved prow, the lantern deck, and even the little raised crow's nest where you and Finn first saw the island clearly. Under the ship another mark forms, an open hand. Captain Maribel looks at it for a long while. Then she reaches into the pocket of her sea-blue coat and draws out something small wrapped in cloth. "I brought this without knowing why," she says. She unfolds the cloth. Inside lies a tarnished coin, old and dark around the edges. It is not worth much by ordinary measure. One side bears the worn shape of a wave. The other has been scratched by years of rubbing, until whatever face or crest once marked it has nearly vanished. This was the first coin I took as a young sailor, she says. Not the pearl lantern, not the greatest thing, but the first thing I took and kept because I could. The clearing remains still. I thought if I held enough bright things, I would become certain of my place in the world, she continues. But no hand can hold enough to make the heart feel anchored. A ship learns her anchor another way. She places the coin into the empty sand bowl beside the mark of the Lanternwake. For a moment it rests there, dull and dark. Then the sand brightens beneath it, and the coin turns slowly until the wave side faces upward. The scratched side smooths, not completely, but enough that a new image appears where the old one had vanished. A small open sail. Captain Maribel smiles, and the smile is full of release. Orzo drops from a branch to the table edge. Old pockets make poor harbors, he says softly. This time no one laughs, though Finn smiles. 3 stars above the hills brighten. The center hill answers first. From beneath its flat stone, a thin stream of light runs down through the grass and into the clearing. Then the left hill, then the right. The 3 streams meet below the driftwood table and travel along the path behind you, back toward the shore. You understand before anyone says it. The island has accepted the return, not only of the pearl lantern, but of the willingness that brought it home. Bram's tune shifts. For the first time, more words come with it, quiet and rough from disuse. Sleep, little wave, your wandering done. Moon in the deep and gold in the sun. Sit up surprised by his own voice. My grandmother's words, he says. The island bird calls from the trees, singing the next notes. Bram listens, then continues more surely. Rest, little light, where soft tides run. What was borrowed returns as one. The lullaby is still simple, but now it has a shape large enough to hold the morning. The compass in your hand opens by itself. Its needle points not to the shore, not to the ship, not to the singer, but to the path of light returning the way you came. The green map rises from your satchel and floats open beside the table. The route home is brighter now. Along it you see small symbols appearing. A calm reef, a sleeping current, a wind mark shaped like a curled leaf. The map is not merely showing where to go. It is showing how to leave gently. Finn looks toward the hills. Will the island disappear when we go? Captain Maribel answers after a moment. Perhaps from waking eyes. You look at the table of return things, the flowers, the 3 low hills, the stars held close to earth, but not from the map, you say. The parchment glows warmly, as if agreeing. Orzo lifts 1 foot, then the other, and settles his feathers. Dreams are not gone when breakfast comes. They are only folded. Bram hums the completed lullaby, and the clearing seems to exhale. The light path waits. Dawn is growing brighter beyond the trees. It is time to return to the shore. The way back to the beach feels shorter, though you do not walk faster. Perhaps the island has finished asking you to notice every leaf and flower. Perhaps the path now knows you are not leaving with closed hands. The white blossoms along the stones are open. Their petals turn toward the pearl lantern's glow in the distance. Tiny beads of dew tremble on the grass. Overhead, the last 3 stars above the hills fade one by one, not extinguished, but received by the morning. Bram hums the lullaby with its restored words. Finn carries the coil of rope over one shoulder, though he still has not needed it. Captain Maribel walks with the old coin no longer in her pocket, and something about her seems less weathered. Not younger, exactly, more spacious, as if a room inside her has had its shutters opened after many years. You carry the dream map open in both hands. It does not flutter in the sea breeze. It rests steady, showing the line from the island shore to the Lanternwake and beyond it, the silver path home. The new symbols remain clear. You study them as you walk, committing each to memory, though you know the map itself is now more awake than any chart in your collection. At the edge of the trees, the beach appears. The pearl lantern hangs from the weathered post, at the center of the stone circle. Its light has settled into the shore, as naturally as sunrise settles into windows. Beneath it, the wooden treasure box remains open on the blue cloth. A little pool of pearl-colored light rests inside the box. Not the lantern itself, but perhaps its farewell. The boat waits where you left it. Beyond the shallows, the Lanternwake floats quietly, blue sails stirring. The crew at the rail has not grown restless. Some stand with cups of tea. One has wrapped a blanket around his shoulders. Another leans against a coil of rope, gazing at the island, as if trying not to blink too often. Captain Maribel stops before the lantern. "We thank you for your light," she says. The lantern answers with a low glow, touching her face, Bram's hands, Finn's brow, Orzo's green feathers, and the edge of the map in your grasp. You step closer. For a moment, you are close enough to see the pearl clearly through the lantern glass. Deep inside it, a tiny image moves. The Lanternwake at sea beneath a sky full of quiet stars. Then the image shifts to the map room, the desk, the brass turtle weight, shelves of rolled charts, then to the galley table, the oat cakes, the tea, the compass leaning toward a song. The pearl is not holding the memories captive. It is blessing them before letting them pass through. You bow your head slightly, because some farewells ask for simple gestures. Then you return to the boat. The wooden treasure box is carried back empty, except for the blue cloth and the small pool of light. Captain Maribel does not close the lid. She lets the morning shine into it. As you row away, the island remains clear. The shore glows gently. The flowers near the trees nod in the breeze. The pearl lantern on its hook becomes smaller and smaller, but its light does not seem farther away. It rests somewhere behind your eyes now, available when remembered. Halfway to the Lanternwake, the startide finally fades. The lights beneath the sea go out one by one. For a breath, the boat floats on ordinary water. Then the compass gives a soft click. The needle points toward the route drawn on the map. The safe passage home begins. Back aboard the Lanternwake, the crew receives the empty treasure box in silence. Not sad silence, listening silence. Captain Maribel places it on the table beside the wheel, where sunlight catches the brass corners and the remaining pearl light inside. It glows faintly once, and settles into the blue cloth. Bram goes to the galley and begins preparing breakfast, properly now that wonder has been given its due. Some smell of porridge, fried apples, and warm spice drifts across the deck. The crew moves slowly back into work. Lines checked, sails softened, lanterns trimmed, fresh water poured for those who rowed. You return to the lantern deck. The missing light is noticeable at first. The hook where the pearl lantern usually hangs is empty. The glass panes of the surrounding lamps catch only ordinary morning. You stand beneath the empty hook for a while, not trying to fill it too quickly. Finn comes beside you. "It looks strange without it," he says. "Yes." "You think we will get another?" You consider the empty place, the chart in your hands, the way sunlight rests where pearl light once did. "Maybe," you say. "Or maybe this place needed to become empty for a while." Finn nods with great seriousness. "Like a cup after good tea." It is such a Bram-like thing to say that both of you smile. Orzo lands on a lantern deck rail. "Empty hooks teach lamps to take turns," he announces. "That one is nearly clear," Finn says. The parrot looks offended, I can make it worse. Please do not. The ship turns gently beneath the captain's hand at the wheel. You spread the dream map across the central table. The route home shines in silver, leading away from Lullaby Isle toward a current marked with a curled leaf. You know that current, or something near it. It will carry the ship northward with little effort, if entered at the right angle. Captain Maribel joins you. Can you guide us? You look over the map, then beyond it to the sea. The waters ahead are ordinary again in color, but something of the island remains in them. The waves lift with patient timing. The wind waits behind the sail. Yes, you say, south by the lullaby, until the current, and west when the morning wind warms. Captain Maribel repeats the course to the helmsman. Bram's humming rises from the galley. The compass needle steadies. The Lanternwake begins her journey home. Behind her, the dream island grows pale in the morning light. It does not vanish all at once. It fades by kindness. First the trees, then the hills, and the crescent shore, until only the pearl lantern's glow remains, star-resting, where the sea meets the sky. Then that too folds into brightness. The journey home is quieter than the journey out, not because the crew has nothing to say, but because everyone seems to understand that some mornings need room around them. The Lanternwake sails beneath a sky washed clean by dawn, her blue sail stitched with stars now filled by a soft, obedient wind. Sunlight rests on the ropes, on the railings, on the worn deck planks, and on the empty hook where the pearl lantern used to hang. You spend the late morning at the map table, translating the dream route into the ship as working charts. You do not copy everything. Some things do not want to be copied too exactly. The island itself you draw only in the corner of your private log, a small crescent shore with 3 hills and a lantern. Beside it, you write no coordinates. Instead, you write the words the map gave you, only found by sleeping crews. And below that, what was taken must be returned without sorrow. You pause before adding the final lesson. A borrowed light can guide for many years, and still belong somewhere else. The sentence looks plain on the page, but true things often do. Around midday, Bram calls everyone to the galley. The meal is simple and warm. Oat porridge with honey, fried apples, thick slices of bread, and tea poured from the blue kettle. The galley feels different without the pearl lantern-esque glow above the table, yet not poorer. Sunlight enters through the round windows and fills the room in broad golden patches. One patch lands on the wooden treasure box, which Captain Maribel has placed on a shelf near the stove. The box remains open. Inside, the blue cloth now holds a single pearl-colored bead of light no larger than a raindrop. It does not brighten the room. It simply reminds it. Finn keeps looking at it between spoonfuls. "Will it stay?" he asks. Bram sets more apples on his plate. Some lights stay by shining. Some stay by teaching other things how. Captain Maribel smiles into her tea. Bram, it sounded almost like Orzo, the parrot, who has been stealing crumbs from the corner of the table, lifts his head. "I taught him everything except soup." "I taught you soup," Bram says. Orzo considers. "Soup is a wet riddle." Finn laughs softly, and the galley warms with ordinary sound again. After breakfast, which is truly lunch by then, the ship settles into a gentle day's work. The crew oils pulleys, coils ropes, scrubs salt from the rail, and mends small tears in the sail. You help Captain Maribel carry old charts from her cabin to the map room so you can compare them with the dream route. The captain's cabin is a low, wood-paneled room beneath the stern windows, filled with books, shelves, locked drawers, and instruments whose purposes are not always obvious. A narrow bed is built into one wall beneath a quilt the color of storm clouds. Above the desk, hangs a painting of the Lanternwake from many years ago, when her hull was darker, her lines sharper, and her deck carried fewer lanterns. Captain Maribel notices you looking at it. She learned gentleness over time, she says. The ship, the captain rests a hand on the desk. The ship, the crew, the captain. She opens a drawer and removes an old logbook. Its cover is cracked, and the pages smell faintly of salt and ink. She turns carefully until she finds a page marked by a faded ribbon. There, she says. The entry is from long before your time aboard. The handwriting is not hers. It is heavier, impatient, pressed deep into the paper. Found pearl lantern adrift near unmarked shoal. Light of unusual quality. Claimed for ship. Beneath it, in younger handwriting, you recognize as Captain Maribel's. A note has been added, years later, kept safe, not yet understood, and below that, written in fresh ink while you were perhaps asleep last night, ready to return. You look at the 3 lines and understand that some stories take a long time to become kind. Captain Maribel closes the book. Will you mark today in the ship's log? Yes, write plainly, she says, but not too plainly. Leave enough room for the sea to keep some privacy. So you write in the captain's log with care. At dawn, guided by the dream map, the lullaby compass, and Bram's restored song, Lanternwake reached the island that appears only to sleeping crews. The pearl lantern was returned to the shore from which its light had long been borrowed. The island accepted the gift and gave safe passage home. The crew came away with less to carry and more to remember. Captain Maribel reads it, then nods. That will do. By afternoon, the sea has become familiar again. Thorncap appears off starboard, crooked palms leaning like old sailors. A flock of white birds crosses the bow. The wind smells of warm kelp and distant rain. The map silver root fades as each portion is completed, leaving ordinary ink behind. Yet your working chart now holds new marks. The curled current, the sleeping reef, the place where dawn wind turns west. These are useful gifts, not treasure to lock away, but knowledge to sail by. Near sunset, you climb once more to the crow's nest. The sky is clear. The sea below is copper and blue. Finn is already there, chin resting on folded arms, watching the horizon with the thoughtful look of someone who has been awake for an entire day and has not regretted it. He makes room for you. For a while, simply watch. Behind you, the island cannot be seen. Ahead, Route Home opens wide. The Lanternwake moves easily, her sail full, her deck lanterns not yet lit. The empty hook on the lantern deck is visible from above, small and dark, against the wood. Finn says, "Do you think the island will call other crews when they are ready? How will it know? Think of the table of returned things, the open hand marked in sand, the pearl lantern shining above the sleeping shore. Maybe readiness has a sound, you say, like a song or an empty box opening." Finn accepts this. Below, Bram begins humming while he stirs something for supper. The tune carries upward. It is no longer only a guide to the island. It is a ship song now, belonging to the space between tasks, to the hours after something has been returned, to the gentle ache of having done the right thing. The compass in your pocket gives one last warm pulse. You open it. The needle points north. Plain, faithful north. Finn grins. It is back. Yes, but when Bram reaches the line of the lullaby about wandering done, the needle trembles happily, just a little. You close the compass, then look out over the evening sea. Some magic returns to ordinary shape when its work is finished. That does not make it less magic. It only means the world is generous enough to let wonder rest inside useful things. Night comes softly, With no need to prove itself, the Lanternwake sails under a deepening sky, while the first stars appear, one by one, in the dark blue above the mast. The crew lights the deck lanterns, at their usual hour. Kindly glows near the bow. Slow morning shines amber beside the galley door. Last port burns white near the stern. Soup before rain gives off a warmer light than the others, though no one can explain why. The hook where the pearl lantern once hung remains empty. No one fills it. Instead, Captain Maribel ties a small blue ribbon around the iron curve, the same blue as the cloth inside the wooden treasure box. It moves slightly in the night breeze, catching light from the other lamps. It is not a replacement. It is a remembrance. You stand beside the map table and watch the lantern deck come alive without the pearl's glow. First the shadows gather differently. The corners seem deeper. The table's surface lacks the familiar pale shine you have known through many nights of chart work. Then the other lanterns begin to matter more. Kindly reaches farther than you noticed before. Slow morning makes the brass compass glow like honey. Last port lays a clean line of light across the edge of the dream map. Even the stars overhead seem to lean closer, reflected in the dark glass of the lantern panes. Captain Maribel joins you. The ship looks well, she says. She does. Changed. Yes. The captain rests one hand on the map table. Most homes change when something beloved leaves properly. The absence becomes part of the room, and after a while it stops being a wound. It becomes a window. You look at the blue ribbon on the empty hook. A window seems right. Bram brings mugs of tea to the deck, walking slowly so none spills. Finn trails behind him with a plate of biscuits. Orzo arrives last, pretending he did not follow the biscuits specifically. The crew gathers in small groups beneath the lanterns. No one asks for a speech, but everyone turns when Captain Maribel lifts her mug. To the pearl lantern, she says, kept with gratitude, returned with care. The crew lifts their mugs. To the shore that received it, Bram adds. To the map that knew the way, says Finn. Orzo flaps onto the table and lowers his beak solemnly toward a biscuit. To empty boxes and better pockets. The toast is accepted. Tea is drunk. Biscuits are eaten. The ship rocks gently through the dark. Later, when the watch changes and the evening work is done, you carry the dream map to the map room. The small room feels altered, of course. The place above your desk, where the pearl lantern hung, is open. You set a smaller oil lamp there for now, one with a plain glass chimney and a steady yellow flame. It does not reveal hidden ink. It does not glow with moon-colored patience. It is simply a good lamp. You find that you like it. The dream map lies on the desk, beneath the brass turtle weight. The island has faded from its center, leaving only a faint crescent watermark in the parchment. If someone else looked quickly, they might miss it. You do not. At the bottom edge of the map, new words have appeared in tiny silver script. A crew that gives back can always find its way home. You run one finger near the words, not touching them. Then you take out your logbook and write until the room grows quiet enough that the scratching of the pen sounds like a small creature moving through dry leaves. You write about the changed map, the compass that followed Bram's lullaby, the star-tide before dawn, the island shore, the empty hook, the table of returned things, and the pearl lantern's final glow. You write about Captain Maribel's old coin, about the 3 stars above the hills, about the path of light leading back to the sea. You write about Finn comparing emptiness to a cup after good tea. You write that Orzo's riddles were, for once, mostly helpful. When the account is finished, you close the logbook and sit with your hands resting on its cover. The ship creaks softly. Beyond the round window, the moon has risen again. Its reflection travels beside the Lanternwake, wavering and mending itself with every wave. A knock sounds at the open door. Bram stands there with a folded cloth in his hands. "Thought you might want this," he says. Steps in and places the cloth on the desk. It is a small lantern shade, stitched quickly but neatly from blue fabric, with tiny silver stars sewn around the edge. "For the plain lamp," he says, "not to make it what the pearl lantern was, just to help it belong." You set the shade around the lamp. The yellow flame softens through the blue cloth, and tiny star shapes fall across the desk, the map, and your hands. Bram smiles. "There now. It belongs," you say. He nods and hums the lullaby once, barely more than breath, before leaving you to the quiet room. The final hours of the night settle over the Lanternwake. You make one last round of your responsibilities, because familiar tasks are their own comfort after wonder. You check the map chest. You close the ink bottles. You make sure the compass is latched and resting level. You climb to the lantern deck and see that all flames are trimmed low but steady. You record the stars in the nightly book, noting which ones shine over the western route home. Then you go below. The hammock room is warm and dim. The ship's motion is softer here, turned into a slow cradle by the curve of the hull. Hammocks hang in two neat rows, each one swaying with its sleeping sailor. Finn is already asleep, one arm dangling over the side, his hand opening and closing slightly as if still holding a rope from a dream. Someone snores quietly near the far wall. A pair of boots rocks together beneath a hook. Your hammock waits in its usual place. You remove your boots, fold your coat, and place the logbook beneath the little shelf beside you. The dream map rests safely in the map room above, held by the brass turtle and watched by the plain lamp in its new blue shade. Before climbing into the hammock, you look through the small round window. The sea is dark, calm, and wide. The island is nowhere to be seen, yet far off, low on the horizon, a single point of pearl-colored light glimmers once. It might be a star. It might be a memory. It might be a shore that can only be found by crews who have learned how to return what was never truly theirs. The light fades gently. You settle into the hammock. The canvas receives your weight with a familiar sigh. The ship rocks once, then again, slow as breathing. Above you, footsteps cross the deck and move away. The lanterns burn low. The water whispers along the hull, carrying the Lanternwake through the night toward home. Bram's lullaby drifts down from somewhere above, softer than before. Sleep, little wave, your wandering done, moon in the deep, and gold in the sun. Rest, little light, where soft tides run, what was borrowed returns as one. The words loosen at the edges as sleep comes near. You think of the pearl lantern resting on its island shore, shining over silver grass and white stones, while the tide folds and unfolds beneath it. You think of the open treasure box, the empty hook, the blue ribbon moving in the sea wind. You think of the map's final words, and the way the ordinary lamp now scatters small stars over your desk. The Lanternwake rocks gently beneath a sky full of quiet stars. The sea keeps its secrets kindly, and you sleep.